Folks, welcome on back for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop this Monday, December 9th, shortly after 12:05 p.m. Eastern. Great to have all of our students and members alike. Hopefully this webcam's straight, by the way, but great to have Chuck, Robert, Dennis, Lynn and Randy, Sam, Philip M, Wiz, Margaret, Kathleen, Gillis, got Leda from before, Johnny, a few more of us just from earlier inside our live trading room. Otherwise, if you're joining us back on social media, though, I'll type this here on the lower left, popping up here if I can get it up fast enough, but at Cyber Trading U. Right there, lower left. Be a friend, tell a friend. Look to hit the follow or subscribe button right there on the bottom right there, just for all of our social streams, including YouTube. We host this workshop every Monday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern time, but otherwise, we're live every day, Monday to Friday, morning, afternoon, etc. But all of us inside our live trading room, though, we just came off a pretty good morning session, and honestly, it's not so surprising now for a Monday. The last 2 weeks, we started our weeks off pretty red hot, and not red in a bad way, red in a good way. Red hot meaning a bunch of things were moving pretty well. IBIT had a little pop up just before it pulled back, little reversal time around 10:30. Question is, are we going to get a bounce back up? I want to actually go over other trades a lot more, which we'll do. We're going to start off with a few other trades to begin. I want to jump back to Bitcoin though, and IBIT. Had one of my students just chat me earlier, just saying like, I hate the fact that I missed IBIT. He was just getting back into the swing of things here at CTU. And I said basically to him, like, listen, like there's plenty more room on IBIT. I normally direct everyone to this video that I'd made, and it's on our YouTube channel, but I normally direct all of our students to that video. Otherwise, we will cover IBIT for a few minutes here. For a few minutes, we'll look to go over this one. But I want to go over what the hell happened to Tesla on Friday. That's what I want to cover to begin Traders Talk here, because this is one of the craziest short squeezes that I've seen in quite some time. I mean, certainly, Tesla is definitely able to do this. We've traded Tesla a few times across this year, like consistently, meaning like off of earnings and a few days afterwards, or coming off the election at least, or from our trader summit, a bunch of us were there trading Tesla, even if you were doing it on small share size. Well, over the end of last week, I mean, this thing just ran rampant. So I want to see if I could even go back on the bookmap data on level 4 and show you what the hell happened here on this trade. Looks like basically higher lows. Looks like it was squeezing up nicely. Then out of nowhere, at 2:54 Eastern, I mean, this thing blew the high and off and running it went. If I can get the bookmap data here, I'll be able to show that to you. We don't need it, but I just want to show it there. It makes it a little bit easier. But basically, how I'll look to cover this trade is for all of our students in our room. I know that you were watching this on Friday. I actually took a personal day on Friday, so I missed out on this, unfortunately. But ended up leading to a great run, but right away for a more expensive stock. And I don't mean more expensive, like $20 or $25 per share. Obviously, this is $375 or so by the time this is trading throughout the day on Friday. What common set of price levels for Grant, Chuck, Lynn and Randy, Robert, Dennis, Leda, etc., all of us here in chat, what common set of price levels should you look to follow or use for a much, much more expensive stock? Something like $300, $500 a share. Every dollar is not going to cut it here at this point, right? We like to focus on the US dollar bills as far as kind of like, plotting out our psychological levels. So obviously there's a couple in between there, but you have your dollar bill. Let's exclude the ever so rare $2 bill for right now, but after 1 would be 5. And even after 5, you could say is 10. So you could start off by just going like, 375 is a level. After that, 380 would be the next level from there. What's easy to say in hindsight is that this blew the roof off of 380 here and just kept going. But otherwise, I would say even on the downside, which it didn't touch, it didn't drop all the way down there, but I would be mindful for 370 going into Friday as potential bounce area. Now, what happened was it kept holding under 375 for a little while throughout the morning. A couple of false breaks, so nipped it. Nice little pop here, started off okay. For a Friday, for late morning, not really expecting too much right away there. Not expecting it necessarily at like 1 o'clock, but the more it keeps pressing up against that level and the more it does test it and nip over it, it's more prone for that level to totally snap. So it ended up doing it here, right? Like around like 1 o'clock, as we had said. It could have happened here at this point, But if it's not going to make that expected run, at least to try and get to the pre-market highs or try to get up to the next $5 incremental level of 380, lower high, boom, break below support. So, right place, wrong time initially here at like 11:30 in the morning. Then at 1 o'clock, it eventually made that better push that you wanted. 1 second, adjust the charts there. But really, the better talking point that I wanted to share with you here, because I went back on this. Let's see if I can get it. I can get it. Nice. All right. So I'm going to go back on the bookmap data right now for you. And you'll see like 375 played out as a pretty big price. But there was something even larger, something even more important to focus on, something that we teach our students to watch at every day, at the beginning of every day, we'll say, right within the first 5 minutes of the market opening up. So we normally like to sit on our hands, normally like to wait the first few minutes just, to kind of see the reaction of the stock right away at the market open. Pop, drop, whatever it may be. In this case for Tesla, it did drop off right away. But what are we normally looking at right when the market opens up? For our students that join me, especially in phase 2, and especially in phase 3, as I look to teach it, what do we look to focus on? These big volume spikes you could even see here right away at the market open. Lee says the opening print. And absolutely, that's where I was trying to lead you on to right there, Lee. So let me even try and pull up the OG time and sales here. Let's get the actual tape here and show you what happened. This is back from Friday, right? Friday morning, market open. I'm sure it had to have been right here. Hopefully I don't need to go through it too much, but now what happened at the market open? It tanked, right? We know it dropped. And throughout the day, it was kind of holding under that high, under that open price, rather, I should say, pretty well. Let's see. I might need to go back just a little bit. We got it, though. We got it. Any more? Any more? Damn. Let's see. So much volume gets poured into Tesla right away at the open. So I just had to fish through it there a bit. But you can see right here at 377 and 26 cents. Kind of a more odd price, right? But that's where we saw this big print come up on time and sales, the opening bell print, as I like to name it. It is over 500,000 shares. Now, that's not one person. We teach that more in our class. So to go into the rhyme and reason for that, you got to join us in phase 2. I'll break out the old calculator, though, here. Actually, I might even need to do it on my computer. It might be too big of a number. 524,500 shares times $377.26. $198 million transaction, right? $198 million worth of money just went off right away at the market open. This was back on Friday morning. So this was at the price 377.26. Okay. 377.26. Now, where I told you this held well throughout the day here, it really did a number as resistance, right? It moved back up to it here at like 1 o'clock, 1:30. This was after it broke back above the 375 price. So let's just say in theory, hypothetically, if you had missed it from the 375, it's kind of choppy around that price throughout the day. It's easy to miss a level like that. Well, your better level, transparently enough, was the 524,000 shares that were at 377.26. It moved up to it perfectly here, tested it, held under it perfect. Again, here, false break, up and down. Hey, that's actually good. The more times it could press up against that, I'd be led to believe it could at least pop and make that big move shortly after. Obviously, when it breaks above this line here, when it breaks above the opening print, I don't think anyone's necessarily expecting like a gamma squeeze, this thing to absolutely go bonkers, to go up all the way up to 390 plus. I don't think anyone taking that trade was expecting it. You got the 0 DTE options out there that people are trying to jump in and out of. That's hope. That's something that you want. That's something that you're not necessarily expecting. That's not something that you have high confidence within. If you can get this up from 377 here, maybe up to 380, or even if it could break above 380, then you could try and see if that 380 flips into support. There is a way to play it level by level. But overall, though, let me just show you here on the monthly chart. This is where I would have expected Tesla to have a tough time. I fit in the sip there eventually. All right, so you had this monthly doji candle. Basically, it's a doji. It's off by 8 pennies for a $381 ticker there at the time. That's like a doji. That's pretty close to one. So that would have been a nice target even to expect this to top off at just for Friday afternoon. That was at 381 and change or so right there. So it's just to say that's a nice level, nice target. It just blows right above that, right? It shakes around it for a moment, but then keeps going. It's easy to leave money on the table for a trade like this, but it actually was pretty simple as far as getting in, as far as the entry process here. You could even say that this was a bit of a Fausto flag that was building, right? You could even say this was a bit of a Fausto flag. You got the 377.26 top, right? You got pretty strong trend off the lows. Oh, did that not go? 1 second here. There we go. Pretty clean, right? Pretty clean line. Not perfect, but good enough where it shows you clear higher lows, moves up to that resistance, that strong level, the opening bell print. You'd like to think for so much money being traded at that open price, whether somebody knows something or some people know something. Well, they certainly did, because eventually this got squeezed out and it ran crazy, right? So, if you missed it from there and it kept going up without you, that is obviously and this happens to me and Fausto every day. It's just to say it's frustrating where a stock keeps going up, where you're looking for more of a pullback. All right, it's moved up enough. Let's see if support could build. It just keeps chugging along. Like it just kept going. Reminded me a little bit of a trade that we had from last week as well, more from Thursday. I can't go over this one as much. Maybe it was on Wednesday even, but the Soon trade, SOUN. Remember this from Thursday? It only pulled back down to here. I thought it would pull back a little bit deeper to, at the time, it was the VWAP price. Didn't do it. It just kept going up. So in the event in which that happens, you have two options. It's pretty straightforward, but we need to realize this sooner than later. If you think losing money here, missed money on this is, pretty significant, I would say that time's our most valuable asset, and especially when the market's open from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, right? It's fixed. So it's just to say that, the more that we're watching this go up without us and we are not jumping in and we don't have confidence of where to get in from next, well, we're missing out on the next other opportunity that could be running 10 times easier. That is cooperating a lot better. That is not just going up, but it gives you the chance to get in on the breakout, or it gives you the chance to get in on the test of support, right? So if a stock just keeps going up there and you're not in it and you're like a little hesitant, rightfully so, because if there's minimal pullbacks and not as big of one as you were expecting, all right, well, you have a choice to get in from a higher price if there is conviction, or move on to a different stock. So if you had missed out on Tesla, just going back to Friday, from the end of Friday here, this thing crazy pop, right? At least it's prime time trading. At least it's 3 o'clock, 3:15, 3:30 into the afternoon. So you're at the right time, at least here. There's plenty of other opportunity, I'm sure, that is moving for you. And granted, if there's not, hey, it's not like the market's permanently closing Friday and that's it. We woke up this morning, we ran the scans once again, and we had a whole new list of stocks to work with, right? So perspective and psychology is everything behind trading. If I miss out on a move, the thing I try and do the most is not beat myself up for it. I just try and keep my head straight, my eyes wide open, and just saying, hey, where's my next big move? What other stock is moving right now for us, right? And otherwise, it's the same thought from there as well. The market's not closing permanently after Friday. The market's not closing permanently after today if you had missed out on something. But it's just to say that there's always going to be another move out there. All right. So with that at least behind us, I do want to get to a couple of stocks otherwise that we did trade from today. Tesla was the big move from Friday, but we ended up doing pretty well across the board going into the open today. Let me get my actual watch list out here in front of me. So you could have said the same thing on PLTR from Friday morning. This had popped up pretty strong. If you had missed out on PLTR, there's other opportunities, right? This was on our watch list earlier, but lower highs, it kind of crashed right away at the open today and just kind of pulled back. I want to go over the Duo stock, DUO. This thing was like a cheap stock below $1 early in pre-market. We normally don't focus on a stock below $1 going into the morning, going into the day. It normally doesn't make as strong or as concise of a move. So, if for anyone that trades the stocks below $1, I'm not trying to shame you for it. It's just not our cup of tea here at CTU. And to be transparent, it's not really the cup of tea of the majority of the stock market. The majority of the stock market is not as focused on these stocks below a dollar. They're more focused on Tesla. They're more focused on Nvidia. They're more focused on PLTR nowadays, right? But hey, everyone's got their own cup of tea. And that's where I say the more this goes up and it does break over a dollar, well, naturally, it is going to pop up on our scanner. And naturally, that means it's going to pop up on the majority of other people's scanners as well. So that's where we'll start to take that stock a lot more serious because hopefully, and there is hope behind it, right? There's strategy, but there's hope behind it too. The anticipation, the hope behind it would be that there's more buying coming into the trade that allows the stock to move up a lot more from $1 afterwards. So let's basically cover this move from head to toe. It popped in pre-market. It was a good stock on our morning list. It obviously continued afterwards. But where could we have gotten in from? That's what we'll look to cover here in just a moment. So, hey, we just said it before on Tesla, like $5 and $10 levels. How about for a stupid cheap stock like this, right? I mean, I would just say every dollar, or I'm sorry, every 50 cents. $1, then $1.50. You know, if this wants to really keep popping, then I would draw a line at 2. But you got 1, you got 150. Those are two prices I would assume to just find resistance at initially, right? I don't even have the heat map up for this stock yet. So I'm just loading that up right now. See, it's loading here. All right, so this is what it looked like in hindsight here, just prior to the spike, prior to the opening bell. So it did break over this $1 line, at least this orange line that showed up at 1. There we go. Whole number level, big volume getting filled at the time. It popped up pretty well. This is all after 9:30 though. So let me zoom in here. This actually looks kind of hard to read outside of that line that was here at 1. This is nice to see at 1. There is a resistance that shows up prior to the open at 120. But like when I zoom out here, this thing looks like garbage. Like kind of Lego-y, right? Kind of like tough to read otherwise, meaning like later on, even more so. Just like look at how small these orange lines show up for. Very short-lived orders that pop up on the bid ask at times. So you want to find an order that stays out there for a long period here. That's where I was saying, oh, 1. You know, there's even little spotty here and there, but it showed up from 8:15. By 9:15, it got broken through. So that's good. There was a little resistance at 120. Looks like it got halted pretty quickly here, right? Did this get halted? Yeah. This got halted at 9:40 in the morning, about 10 minutes in. So let's actually just jump back to that like opening print. We just talked about it on Tesla from Friday. How about this one from like this morning today? This says right here from Bookmap, it says 350,700 plus shares at 1. So $1 is already a level. Like we know that, you know, the whole number, $1, that's a price to watch anyway. That's a line we should have plotted 30 minutes ago. But when you have 351,000 shares basically getting filled on the spot right when the market opens up, to me, that solidifies at least the strength of that price coming up as support or coming up as resistance. Like if it just tanks here and drops down and then it moves back up later on, takes its time, that would be treated as resistance. Yeah, it broke below it here. What was it, 931? By 9:33, 2 minutes later, it was already back over that price. So it's showing that it's not really acting as resistance here. It broke below it by a few pennies, but it moved back up. It held back over basically as support afterwards. It broke over this limit sell order, broke over this sell order at 105, and that was really the icing on the cake. That was really kind of like letting the pin out of the grenade right there and letting it pop. But really $1, if that wasn't already a big enough level to start with today, that was also the opening print. So by the time it just broke through this level on the way up, you know, it ended up holding above that after a support. But like this was actually a great trade, if not from 1, then otherwise, obviously, once it broke over 105, this led to a pretty clean entry, right? So nice move from that point. Ran up as high as what, 150? What do you know? Hey, Yahtzee. Right? What was high, like 153? 154. So first test, best test, that's where we'd expect resistance to hold the first test. The more often it gets poked at, though, it's more prone for it to getting snapped and broken through. So obviously that didn't happen here. This ended up holding lower highs, never touched it again. But first test, best test came back down. That's not surprising to me, especially when it was at like what 80 cents before the morning here today. Did it even pop from the after hours the day before? I don't see so. No, it's more from this morning early. But otherwise, still, the stock is up X amount of percent early in the morning by the time it was opening up. Then, let alone by the time it's testing 150 here, even more so. I mean, even right now, still 125. So, is it possible it can move up more? Have we seen stocks go up more than 125% in one day? Absolutely. But it's just to say, though, that, yeah, it could have done it even here, but it didn't. And the first test of resistance, much like we always teach, much like we always cover in class, especially after a stock has already moved up as much as it did. I mean, it's the same thing that happened at one, right? First test, best test, next test after it you know, started to nip at it a little bit more and eventually ran after the open. But just to say, first test, best test, right? Simple rule. All right, so this will parlay into, or segue rather, into I got my parlay in my mind here from yesterday, NFL parlay. But no, I got a question that came in from a student. Actually, I told him I wrote this down going into Traders Talk today. So this is just more from last week. They said, Josh, hey, I have this question for you. I said, listen, I got Traders Talk on Monday here. I'll be able to at least show you my screen and give you a few minutes on it in front of everyone. So this was just simply in relation to the TradeStation scanners and the gainers list. So, a lot of us here have Thinkorswim. A lot of us have Webull. A lot of us have Fidelity or Interactive Brokers. I probably would say most people have Thinkorswim. But, hey, I show TradeStation. We have an affiliation partnership with TradeStation. We love them. And a lot of our students do use it. So I had a question from a student asking about just the scanner here. Like, how do you make it? Like, what goes into the gainers list altogether? So the thing about that is this. If you look at like the TradeStation hot lists that they have, like if you go to window, right here, hot list, this actually is like a pre-built scanner and it shows you like percent gainers one day. And then over here, percent losers one day. That's basically their version of the gainers and losers list. Normally, I'd say use this. And for anyone on any other platform, you need to use this in order to follow at least the pre-market, in order to follow at least the market open and, on your own, right? There are other websites and programs that we can, refer you to, but built right within your program or platform rather is a program that's directing you right to the gainers and losers list. Now, here though, the only issue that I have with TradeStation's program, the hot list, is that it doesn't always populate every singular stock that should be on there. Maybe it lags by a minute or so. It's not often. Hey, this is not a frequent issue, but it's an issue. And I had said to myself, okay, well, if there is another way for me to run a simple gainers list here, then let's do it. And that's where they actually have their scanner window. Scanner window. It's different than the hot list window. The hot list window gives you the pre-built stuff. This is like you got to make it yourself. So this is pretty straightforward, at least here. I right click, I go to customize scan. I mean, you can just create a scan. You can create one just right away. But this is basically what I'm using. Got percent change in one day, greater than or equal to a certain number. I can make it 5%. I can make it 2%. If I want more stocks, I'll make it a smaller number. I'll make it 5% right now. Just mess around there. Last, that's just the price that you're trying to scan for. So again, I make this very wide for me, for myself. I'm making call outs. I'm just also looking at other more expensive things too nowadays. If you want to make this a tighter price range, there we go, 1 to 20. I'm going to go 1 to 10. Do that. Volume today, that's just the volume total beginning from pre-market. So, I have this 500,000 shares right now. If there is a word for infinity here that I could just type in, if I could just type in infinity, I would. I think I could probably do greater than, but I just have a cap here. I'm just messing around, but greater than 500,000 shares. Basically, that's what I'm hinting towards there for volume. And all of this I just have displayed, just showing the float, showing the shares outstanding. So you don't need to do that. I just have that there myself, but I'm just clicking run. Oh, there goes Duo. That thing just crapped out. Not a surprise, right? But basically, this is my pre-built, or my custom-built rather, gainers list, and it's run through the scanner window here. So for my student that had asked that just from last week, I wanted to answer that there. And, again, the more Duo goes up and hits 150, if it could press up against it, there actually is a pretty damn good setup. But if it's not going to make that test and keep trying over time, then there's no thought to it, right? I mean, it even tops off here at 10:10 in the morning, 10:12 in the morning. So we know reversal time's coming pretty soon, don't we? We should. So otherwise, lower high, pull back there. That was pretty much it. From Sam. From 7:54 this morning, Rich gave us news that Tesla had a new car, the Series Q coming out. Could that have been the stimulus for this move? You mean from Friday? I mean, possibly, but this is more just a break of resistance. Any sort of news that comes out midday, you're going to see a sharper spike. Even earlier, Hershey came out with like speculative buyout news, right? I don't think it's official, but like this is the type of pop when news comes out of nowhere. This was just a break of resistance on Tesla from Friday. I'm sure there was a ton of short interest on this as well, like puts getting squeezed out. Like that's why I kind of loosely called it a gamma squeeze. But if there was news this morning, then hey, then like that even furthers the cause for a bullish move over time. Perhaps we get support to build, perhaps it comes back up later today, things like that, right? That's also another example of just saying if they came out with some new car and there's good news coming out for their Series Q car, you can't just buy the stock because the news comes out, right? And I know Sam knows that. I'm saying that to everyone else. It just reiterates that point a lot further. Every trade begins with an entry. Every entry begins with a big level. That's why I was clamoring about the opening print from Friday so much, that 377 and change. Look how well that became resistance just a moment ago there. From one of our trial members, Neil, asking about, oh, that's right. Yeah. So Neil had a question as well in relation to the order book, one of our new trial members just joining us here. So hope that you're enjoying your time, Neil. I will get to your question in just 1 second, actually. Just checking in on the time here, 12:30. I'm just double checking also really briefly to see if I can go over it with you here. IBIT, it's still just chipping lower highs. This might look to pull back and make a new low. I want to go over IBIT coming up before we finish up. Let's get to Neil's question here coming up. So Neil sent over one of our trial members here asking about the level 2 data, I believe this is. 1 second. Neil, what platform are you currently using? Are you on Thinkorswim? Are you on Fidelity? What platform is this here? This is what Neil just sent over to us in the chat. Thinkorswim. Okay, so this is the Thinkorswim level 2, basically. Yeah, level 2. So is there anything to read into this VERT bid and ask levels? So VERT, I'm guessing, is some either stupid tiny exchange or it might just be an algo. But this is what Neil is referring to here. These like really low prices down at the very bottom, 0.0001, a fraction of a penny. Then all the way here, this is like 200,000 shares per ticker. I don't look into that. I don't look into that really at all, regardless of what size would come up here even. Now, if you want to put this under a microscope here, which is the whole purpose of this workshop, so I appreciate Neil asking. This is equal size, right? 100 shares, 100 shares. So regardless, there actually is an order imbalance here, but I'm sorry, retract that. There is a balance right here between the two prices, right? Equal size. There's a balance equally. But even if there was some larger imbalance, if this was a larger size than what was here at fraction thing, I'm more focused on the prices that are nearest to where the stock is actually trading. If there is a freakishly large order out there, if this was like 300,000, it's really bad here. This said 3,000 instead, then that's something I would consider and be like, okay, maybe someone's trying to throw an order out there at a stupid high price to show an imbalance, even though the stock will look to move up more later on. Things like that could happen. But otherwise, unless if it's some like freakishly large order, I'm not really as focused on that. I'm more focused on the prices that are more near where the stock is trading. And like here for this example, what was this at 161 at the time? LDTC. Let me just take a look at this. What time is that taken there, Neil? What time did you take that picture? Was that just now, or was that from earlier. So it's likely someone showing off on a demo. I don't know, on demo or on a demo, it could have just been like a program that they're running, like an algorithm maybe. Um, it's something I would just say in simple terms. Like the simplest way that my simpleton brain can put it is I wouldn't want you to worry too much about that comparative to the prices that are more near where the stock is trading. So that was back when it was 31 cents. Okay, so that makes sense then, no pun intended. So when this first popped, that's when you took that picture? I'm not sure about that, Neil, because it looks like when you took this picture, it shows the unless if this is like it shows 161, 162 here, right? That leads me to say I think that this is where the stock was trading when you took the picture, bid ask. So even if that was the case, it's just to say we'll look to read where the iceberg orders are, where the larger orders are out there on the bid and the ask. So that's where even here, I'll just pull this up right now on my level 4 LTDC. It was pre-open. Okay, so in that case, then it was like, it was when it was trading at 161 though, because that was the bid ask, but pre-market there. Um, where are the big levels at? That's what we're focused on right now with the stock. All we're focused on here is where are the big levels. The stock is up how much today? 380%. You see that there on the top left? That's a lot. That's a lot. And that's in one day, that's a lot. We see stocks that go up 300, 500, 1,000%, but certainly not as frequent as we see stocks up 100%, 120%, 80%, whatever the hell it is, right? So it's already up a lot. Just because it's inching up a little bit here, that's not cause to jump in. But if we were to focus in on this trade right now, my thing would be, okay, where are the big orders here right now? But it's a great question to ask because, like, to the naked eye, it could throw you off. It's like, okay, what the hell's going on all the way down here, right? What the heck is this? And the more you're focused on that, it leaves you to miss out on the more important moves happening in front of you at the time. So, very good question to ask. And sometimes great questions require simple answers. Just like, you know what? Don't worry as much about that as you would about where the volume is being filled from earlier, where, this big print got filled here, 262,000 shares. This got filled at 129, 128, 129. Look how that became support about an hour, hour and a half afterwards, right? This red dot. That's what I'm focused on, right? This red dot became support here for one last little push. Now, if it's going to, really try and run, I would just say like right around 173, 170-ish might be your next level. I would probably lean higher to this price. 58,000 shares got filled there, basically right before 10 o'clock. So, just where it's trading at here, it's kind of in limbo still. If you missed it off of this price, it needs to hold a higher low, needs to build a new support, and then it needs to try and break over this and flip this into the next support. So that's where we just say, if there's a stock moving right now, even, it's just that I'm more focused on where the big players are first before I even think about pressing the buy button. Stock might be trending up intermittently here and there, but if there's no cause to jump in, then that's fine. That's all right. Oh, no, I mean, no problem at all, Neil. Neil says, thanks for going deeper than necessary. This is the exact reason why we're here. This is where we have the chance to go deep. Absolutely. No sweat there. I mean, please, that's why we're kind of going through certain stocks. I had a great setup earlier on this trade. It just didn't come back up and above it. But once this broke below $9 here, I thought there was a case maybe it can come back up again and then make the rebreak later on. It just never did. And once it pulled back below 9, it was game over. So I'd have thought of it like trying to false break and come back up. I was just sitting here waiting, and the more it just dropped, I'm like, all right, game over with this thing. A couple of things, or one thing, namely that I did miss out on quite a bit from Friday. I took a personal day, as I'd said. So, man, this was tough to see. This was a tough one to bite the bullet on and just say, shit, I think I missed out on it. So, serve SERV. If you've been following traders talks like here and there or like every week with me, then you know that I've been like a fan of this stock because on and off we've been day trading it. But when it was at $10 like a month ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, even here, Like I was saying, like, okay, this could be a good case to try and see this break over 10 for it to run up. At the time, like IO and Q was pumping, all the quantum stuff was going. I'm like, okay, serves like robotics, it's AI probably, like 10's a big level, right place, wrong time. It came back down and pulled back. So I ended up losing a little money on this trade as it pulled back over time here. Uh, it happens, right? But it stayed under 10 for a while. I forgot about it, honestly, for a little bit. And just other stocks took my attention away. And then I think it was even on Thursday, I may have called it out at one point before I took my day on Friday. I think like I called it out Thursday, but I didn't really make much of it. And then obviously the day I'm out, the thing freaking pops and rips, right? So of course on Friday, this thing just starts running up instantly, pretty much right away before the market opened up. $10 as your level. It was already nipping and testing 10 beginning in pre-market here. So, low volume, pretty low, skimpy volume here. But it's some buying to begin. There's some gradual buying to begin that move. And then, it doesn't take long, but it blows right above 10, pops up about 18, 20 cents. And that's where, hey, you know what? If it's not going to give it much trouble off of 10 and it blows right over it, look what flipped into support, right? That's exactly what you'd want to see. So from Friday, when I was out, I missed out on this whole freaking thing. This was right place, right time, obviously, but this was the level that we were looking at there a month and a half back. So I ended up kept testing it here throughout this morning, broke it, flipped it into support. Simple but easy move, right? Now at this point, if we're looking for some sort of play on serve, it's tougher now at this point to like consider an entry because I was more inclined to focus on 10, not only as like a whole number, decade level type number, but it held as support here like really well. So I was confident about that price. Maybe if it could flip this into support next, this peak, I guess it peaked here around like 1278, 1280-ish or so. So today, I guess it tried to break above that. Pop, drop, came back down, holding under it here on this candle. So at this point right now, it's not as clean. I would say wait for the close on the daily chart above that price in order for you to gain confidence in using this as a level. But for right now, the fact that it broke below it here leads me to kind of just hang back for the meantime and just say, all right, if we have like support showing up here, maybe 1170, 1168, a little something there. We'll see if that can hold throughout the day today. What about from Friday? This was good resistance, 1209, 1210. It's actually holding above that pretty damn well as support. It's trying to flip that into support right now here. I guess there's a case for that. I'd be a little bit more bearish, though, thinking it might pull back one more time, then shoot up, but it is a higher low. It is a nice level there, and it did bounce up about 17 cents. There is a case for that. Let me just jump to the daily chart from Friday. I'll get you the closing bell print from Friday, the end of that day, that week. Yeah, 1180. 1180. That would be like an even better price. I would love for that to happen, but we'll see if later on today or maybe tomorrow morning, if we hold back enough or if we're a little patient enough there, perhaps we'll see this dip back down here, try and kiss that as support for a move back up again. That's a thought. But, it sucks when you miss out on a move that you were studying, that you were focused in on for a little while. And, just I want to take a mental health day, basically. My back also freaking killing me. It's in pieces. But basically, when it runs up without you, you have a choice. You either have to try and take it from the next level ahead, which is a possibility here. There's a price to watch here, a couple prices. Or otherwise, if you feel a little more uncertain, maybe try and find a stock that you're more certain on. Right? That sounds like a pretty good idea. So I want to get to Bitcoin. I want to get to this because this is something I'm more certain of over time. So we're going to get a bounce back up on Bitcoin, of course. But, right now we're pulling back today. Had a little pop to begin the morning, but pull back after. This is something I showed one of my students on a coaching call just earlier here. So I just wanted to bring it to all of our students' attention for right now. Basically, there is a heat map. There's like Bitcoin on Bookmap, right? And I showed that recently. And, there's actually, you could pull this up on Bookmap, the program, like pull up Bitcoin, Dogecoin there too. But you got Bitcoin to Tether. That's what I typically watch. But what this actually shows you are buy and sell orders, right? Normal, regular buy and sell orders that are looking to be filled. Now, there's something else called a liquidation heat map, where basically it's going to show you levels that they're expected to see liquidations on in futures contracts. So there's a website that I found out about. It's completely free. It's like really cool. It's called coinglass.com. Coinglass. It's free. So you can go right here to liquidation heat map. This is what I use, Model 2. It's this. Now, what this basically is going to show you is support resistance lines in terms of potential liquidation levels. So what I noticed, this is pretty cool the other day, yeah, right here. Notice this yellowish line that built up back yesterday afternoon. It was yesterday afternoon. Well, that you can consider, let's just say it's considerable as a resistance line. There are a bunch of shorts that are going to get liquidated if it touches this price level. Now, that's what you can kind of call like a market maker trap when orders get taken out, like getting stopped out. When you have stops that get taken out, when you have liquidations, that's like the same thing. So basically, here it's just to say that there are a bunch of leveraged shorts that will get liquidated, taken out if Bitcoin hits this price area. And it did. Well, what was the after effect from that? Once it touched this yellowish line and broke through it, well, it tanked. Basically, that got touched, but resistance held, and it came back down, right? Well, after that point, it'll move up, came back down. I'm looking for like the next yellow line on the bid. I'm looking for potential support because that would be the next area where longs, the buyers out there, would get taken out. They'd get liquidated, and maybe we'd get a bounce back up over time. So earlier today, this was actually right before 10:30, if I'm not mistaken. I'll show you here in the chat in just a moment. Give me a sec. So right around here, around 10:30 in the morning, maybe 10:50 in the morning it was technically. That's when I made my comment. But I was saying I'm looking for a day trade bounce soon on the Bitcoin stocks. Why? Because I saw this yellowish area pop up over time here, and I figured we'd probably get some longs get taken out, and then maybe a reversal, like a bounce afterwards. So here is my post. I made this just earlier, 10:51 in the morning. Looking for a day trade bounce soon on Bitcoin stocks. And at the time, that included IBIT. So we started to get a bounce. Things were looking pretty good to begin. Now the question is, though, what's going to happen if we break lower, or if we do go lower from here, right? Looks like we're about to. We're still holding a higher low technically. Well, I will say it looks like another line showed up a little bit beforehand here. Even get this into a smaller scale. It's only a few hundred points lower. And notice there weren't really any yellow lines before any of today happened. So, there is some support building already at like 97.6, 97.3, and there's just more out there now currently. So we might get Bitcoin to drop off like another 100 points, couple hundred points perhaps there, and then we'll see what happens. But if that's the case, then look for IBIT to potentially get a bounce momentarily, and especially if we even hold a higher low. We might not break lower. That might just be extra padding as support. And even if Bitcoin hits that exact price, that's where I would look for a potential bounce. So we'll look to see what happens coming up today. We started off good, though. We started off good, at least from where we made the call out at 10:51, 10:52 in the morning. It started off okay, but it wasn't the type of bounce that I wanted. It wasn't the sharper reaction that we had, at least even from here. If you had a similar type of sharper reaction where it shoots up fast, that's exactly what you're looking for. It started off good, but that doesn't always mean it's going to continue good. Built a lower high, came back down. Not a lower low yet, but we'll see what happens throughout the course of the day today. I just want to show you that, though. Coinglass.com. I'll show you that there one more time. Coinglass. All right, so we covered Serve. We covered the TradeStation Gainer scan that we had there before. We had a question from one of our trial members, Neil, just before that we tackled. Sam, we just covered there on Tesla just before a moment ago. Just catching up with the chat right now. If there's any other questions you have, folks, for me, definitely let me know right now. I have a couple more from email at least here that I got to get through, I believe. One moment. So actually, this came in from the end of last week. It was on my day off from Kathleen. So may have actually gotten this already just by covering this naturally. But Kathleen did ask on Friday, given the rise in Bitcoin, I'm having trouble determining when to sell the Bitcoin stocks. Not sure how long to hold them. How about that? Well, it depends on what your game plan is with the money that you already put in. And I say that to any one person here. Like if you put in a ton of money into Bitcoin and you're thinking, okay, I need to use that money at some point for just life and other things, you need to definitely consider selling sooner rather than trying to hold on longer. If it's money that you put in, just knowing, okay, I'm going to put this money in for 6 months, a year and a half, and that's okay, then we have a lot more patience to see this ride out, right? That's where I'm getting to. If you jumped in at a higher price from where we were calling it out months and months and months and months and months, you're probably more inclined to sell quicker. Them's are the facts, right? That's just how it is. So that's just to any one person who is listening to me. But that's just where I'll say CoinGlass here could be a pretty good, you know, thing to look at here, even on a 1 month scale, looking back on a longer term thing. Well, look what happened here. This was actually before Friday and before Thursday, where this crazy spike happened on Bitcoin. We actually had some yellow showing up here prior to that on the 2nd. It was already nipping and testing 100K and it popped it, yeah, but it came back down. And that's like your red flag to begin with. That's like not kosher to start off on anyway, because that's typically the beginning of that reversal, like we saw before, right? On the smaller scale. Right here, notice it nipped it, came back down hard. Notice here on the monthly scale, it nipped it, it broke above it. Yeah, but it came back down and pulled back. So what actually happened was nuts on Thursday. I don't know if anyone saw what happened Thursday night. Bitcoin dropped all the way down to 90,000. It was actually the largest 5-minute candle ever in Bitcoin's history. I think percentage wise and size wise. I wish I bought. I was actually watching the chart live at the time. My jaw's to the effing floor. And like my fear took over more than anything. And I didn't buy when I should have. I just should have hit buy right there at 90,000 or 92,000. The hell with it. Either way, it's just to say that you could use this as a top indicator. Yeah, it broke above it and came back down. I believe we're going to go up even more. We're going to hit 150,000, I think, in due time over this next year. Maybe on the sooner end of that year compared to the later end of that year. But that's just where over time you could use this, and the larger yellow of a line that builds up over time, perhaps the more Bitcoin pops, that's where you could potentially expect a top. Now, that's just one thought. That's literally just one thought. You don't need to use coinglass.com. Again, Bookmap has Bitcoin. So you could use the normal Bitcoin heat map here too. And I'm saying this on a more day-to-day level. You always want to follow the chart day-to-day, week-to-week, because as much of a prediction as I have on Bitcoin throughout the calendar year, it doesn't mean it's going to hit it, and doesn't mean it's going to hit it over a period of time. So even if it does hit it, might be later than I'm expecting, might be sooner than I'm expecting, may not even touch it at all. So that's just where day-to-day, definitely follow up on the chart. Day-to-day, definitely use Bookmap here to your advantage. Like we know that we have a little more resistance ahead at 100,000. After that 105, after that 110. That's not too shocking, right? The fives and tens, as we say. Let me turn the heat map on. I think here I need to turn the heat map on. So got big support all the way down here at 91,000. We got big resistance all the way up top at 105. So it's in a wide range here, basically, to look at. I will say, though, Rich, if you're listening to me right now, Rich, if you're there, if you could just one more time for me, my friend, post the link for the video I made like a few weeks back, a month back, going over my long-term price predictions and targets. And I show you what I'm looking at as well. It's not just I'm giving you a number. I'm showing you indicators and tools that I'm using, not even just Bookmap here. So that's something that we will post coming up in a bit. Maybe Rich just taking a small break there. I'll get it here in just a moment. But basically, more or less, that's what I would have you do. And if you're on YouTube right now as well, just make sure to go right to our YouTube channel. It's actually one of our most recently posted videos here, right here. There we go. I'm not going to go for you. Go through the whole, go over price targets, go over everything, stock to flow model, even. So definitely check that video out. We'll post that there on the YouTube commentary right there as well if you're just joining us live. It's in the chat right there live. All right, folks. Hey, we're going to finish up in just a moment here. Sam saying your Fibonacci projections on Bitcoin was masterful. Watched it twice. My friend, I appreciate that, Sam. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to hear that you're doing very well yourself. Yeah, Sam killing it on his ETF trade, GBTC. I think he's up over 100% right now, if I'm not mistaken. Neil asking, regarding that reference to the prior video, is there any search capability to look for specific topics? Actually, in that video, there was. If you click that link I just posted there, we did timestamp certain stuff there for you. Not all of our YouTube videos have that, I believe, but I believe that one actually does. So it's something that we can definitely consider going forward, like for any of our videos and stuff that we post. So definitely good to do if we can. Oh, and as we finish up really quickly, for anyone following me on BuzzFeed, so on Friday I did close out half my option calls. That was the only thing I took care of Friday. So I did close out half of my position. I still got half left, dropping off today. So I might just yank the chain on everything and just pull everything out. I've been in this for like a month now at this point, if not like 5 weeks. I've been in this since this was like a $3 stock. So I am deep in the money still. My contracts or my calls were 60 cents. I sold half at like 225. Doing good there. So even with this drop, it's all right, but I'm probably going to just pull the plug soon on everything. It's a bit of a pullback here. So they expire on December 20th. So either way, it's got to be sooner than later. So just wanted to update you on that as well. Folks, but we're going to finish up, at least for the time being here. We're going to look at Bitcoin, IBIT as we finish up for now. Again, might go a little lower before we get that bounce, looking at that heat map that we just showed. But if you're joining us on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, etc., all of our social media streams and platforms alike, at Cyber Trading U, hit the follow, hit the subscribe button right there on the bottom. Just make sure that you're in tune with all of our live streams, all of our live webinars and classes every day, every week. For our main curriculum, though, for our main classes that we do offer, we do want you to be inside our trading room first. So if you actually scan that QR code with your phone, with your camera on the top left, there it is, you can join us for a week-long trial inside our live trading room. Otherwise, you should have the old-fashioned link right there on the scrolling blue banner below, ctu.co/trial. Either way, we look forward to having you join us there. And for Neil, for Grant, for Leda, for Sam, for Charles, for Azad, Bill, Matt, all of our students just joining us there right now. We're going to jump off the mic. Our next audio broadcast will be at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, just going into the afternoon meeting. We'll see where Bitcoin's at. Hopefully not too big of a drop, obviously. But, even if we dip down a few hundred points lower, that's kind of an expectation from what we just showed you there. And either way, folks, we'll be back later on today. I'll talk to you all soon.